I got coordinates that we had a chopper down. It was a medevac chopper. He gave me coordinates, and I said, I'm coming over you. We're going to fire in front of your chopper, and you lift off behind us. We come in. I couldn't see nothing until we got right on top of him. I was firing, and next thing I hear, pull off, pull off, pull off. So we pulled off, and he had his coordinate sheet upside down. I shot the back end of the helicopter right off.
Ask a Vet is dedicated to documenting and preserving veteran stories in their own words on their own terms before their stories are gone forever. Each episode is an unfiltered conversation about who they were before service during war and their adjustment to coming home. If you believe these stories matter, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. Your support helps us preserve the voices of those who served. Ask a Vet is proud to partner with Utah Honor Flight, part of the National Honor Flight Network, giving veterans the trip of a lifetime to Washington, D.C. to visit the memorials built in their honor. Every flight is free to veterans and made possible by generous donors. To learn more or support the mission, visit utahhonorflight.org or find your local hub at honorflight.org. And now back to the show.
I'm Ernest Mayo, and originally from Binghamton, New York. And 11 years ago, we moved down to Georgia here and hooked up with the VFW, and the VFW has gone a long ways with me. I can't complain. We've done a good job in this area. We just built a new building and everything, and it's really turning out to be really good. But I have 5 children, and they're spread all over the United States. And my good wife, she stands by me on everything I do. On October 4th, 1966, I went into the Army. I got civil service called me. It took 2 years for me to get in the Army. I evaded it. I tried not going, but after I got into the Army, I felt pretty comfortable. They've done a lot for me, and
back up a little bit. What were you doing to avoid getting in there?
Well, I had a cousin that was a doctor, and he told me what I could do so that I'd fail on my tests, okay? And it was either, I won't say what it is, but it was a medicine that I took, and it put spots on my lungs, okay? And I went the first time to the civil service and failed. About 2 months later, they come back after me, and I went and took the medicine again, and I failed again, okay? And the third time, I was mowing the yard, and a car pulls in, nice white U.S. government plates on it, and my mother says, "Hey, I want to talk to you," and I said, sort of figured they would, but they took me right then and there, right to the civil service. I stayed overnight in Syracuse, New York, and naturally, I passed the test because I didn't take the medicine, okay? But anyway, I'm off and running.
How old were you at that point?
They started after me about 18 years. It took 2 years for me to get in there because I kept trying to avoid it. And
where did they send you after you got in?
When after 2 years, they took me up to Syracuse, and I passed, and the doctor was asking me all the time, "What'd you do?" And I never told him what I'd done, but how he discovered that something was wrong is my x-rays were piled together. He picked them up, and the spots on my lungs were moved. And usually that don't happen. So anyway, I went, I got sent to Fort Jackson, South Carolina. I did my entry down there and I graduated there.
What was that like?
It was uncomfortable the first month, but after that, it wasn't bad. They were tough. I got a story to tell, and the sergeant, if he's still around, my drill sergeant said vertical post, right? And a vertical butt stroke, right? You take your rifle and you hit up under somebody's chin, right? Well, anyway, he asked me to do it. I did it. I knocked him clean out. And that wasn't supposed to happen. But anyway, he was out and everybody's saying, oh, we'll see you in a brig there. And that's all I could hear from everybody. But he come around, he stood up, and he was a little groggy. And he told me, he says, you're the first person that done what I asked him to do. Everybody else would stop. Yeah, I was supposed to stop. But anyway, we become real good friends. Everybody figured I was going to be in bad shape. But he had a 1953 Buick, and it run terrible. He gave me a ride in it. I says, I can take care of this thing. So I fixed up his Buick. It run good. He comes back to me and says, if you need a car anytime, you just let me know. So every place I went, I had a really good time with everybody. I mean, all my upper echelon were really, really tied in with me pretty good. I couldn't complain. So anyway, I went to Fort Jackson. I got out of boot camp, went up to Fort Monmouth, New Jersey for data processing. Okay. And Fort Monmouth, New Jersey was a golf course of the armed forces at the time. All the armed forces went there from Air Force, Navy, Marines, everybody for communications. And I tried again and it didn't work. But anyway, everybody was graduating from this and I was failing. And I was one of the top 30 in my class. And all of a sudden, the last 2 weeks, I failed on the last 2 weeks. And the reason why, they come and said that whoever graduates from this class is going to Vietnam. So that told me I'm going to fail. Okay. And finally, my CO come to me. He says, you've been great all the way. And it was 32-week course. 30 weeks, you were up on the high end. And now all of a sudden, you can't put nothing together. He says, whether you pass or fail, you're going to Vietnam. So I passed, but I went to Vietnam. And it was something because I went into data processing. We were at Cameron Bay. There was 11 containers at Cameron Bay, trailers and containers and stuff for a data processing center. Well, they had a tech that night. They blew them all up. So my MOS went from data processing to a machine gunner. Couldn't have to use my brain anymore. I just had to use my finger. I said, man, this is some place. But anyway.
How long were you over there when that happened?
I was over there, we were just a week.
Wow.
Wasn't long at all. We were supposed to move them out the next day, and they got hit and blown up. And it's just hard to believe that they can take your MOS and change it that fast. And that's what I was having a problem with. But after I got on the chopper and everything, I got to know everybody, got to run into everything. It was pretty nice because everybody looked up to me, okay? If they needed cigarettes or this or that, somebody would come to me and say, we need cigarettes because we went on to the LSD boats and picked up a lot of the stuff that the headquarters needed, okay? So we got cigarettes for them and everything else. So I got to know everybody in a hurry. So during my time, my CO comes to me and says, would you like to be in the motor pool? And I says, well, not really, but he says, I'm going to put you so that you work 6 hours a day in the motor pool. I said, okay. So we ended up building a motor pool and really come out nice. Then the CO, I says, I don't want to go up to the barracks and the headquarters because the motor pool was a different place than the headquarters was. So anyway, I asked him if I could build a hut right in the motor pool. So he says, yeah, we'll do that, but you got to find a friend because you got to have two guys together. So we built a hut. It was a 2-room hut, and it was really nice. It had everything you could think of because I could get it because we get it with a chopper. So, but anyway, I had hot water, water coolers. We had coffee pots, TV, refrigerator, air conditioning, the whole 9 yards. So
you were living large over there.
Yes, it was. And we were only about 50 yards from the Red China Sea. Sand was everywhere. So Saturday mornings, I was usually off. I had a good time. And when we got out from the helicopter duty, why, I put a party together on the beach. And across the bay was the uh, uh, boats that could do something for us. And I figured it out. And they come over to the party, and I asked them if they could pull a water skier. And they said, yeah. So I called or wrote home to Mom, said, hey, Mac, could you send me some water skis and rope and stuff? And I think she had a little time with that. But anyway, about 2 weeks later, boxes showed up, and there's water skis there. So we went water skiing. But every Saturday morning, everybody come down to the beach, and we'd all celebrate that we made another week. Let's put it that way. But it was rough, but we made the best we could out of it. It was really something. So,
To explain a little bit the duties of a door gunner and who was on the chopper, and give me a little outlay.
Well, there was choppers behind me, so I was the only door gunner on the helicopter. Okay, and we were shot down 4 times, and we had the last time we were shot down, my pilot unhooked his harness. And when the chopper hit, it threw him out, and he was underneath the chopper. That I dug in the sand, got him out from underneath, and he ended up losing both his legs. But he was a super guy. And I got down here in Georgia from New York, and I went to the VA. And when I was at the VA, I heard this voice that sounded familiar. So I got up to see who it was, and wasn't anybody I knew, but I went to go sit back down, and guy yells out, Sergeant Mayo, how you doing? And I had a hard time figuring this guy out, but he was the guy. I mean, he was the guy I was looking for. He was my pilot. He lost both legs, and he was at the VA there, and I'm talking to his wife and talking to him, and she gave me his address and phone number, the whole 9 yards. We were going to get together. I had to go the next day to San Antonio, Texas, to see my daughter. So I told him when I get back, I'll come and communicate with him to come see him. So anyway, we come back, or I got down in San Antonio. 2 days later, I get a phone call, and it was from a friend of Hiawassee, Georgia, saying, I got a call from the lady that you were supposed to go meet. He passed away 2 days after I seen him, and felt so bad about that because I didn't get to see him. But anyway, I'm really fortunate, lucky guy that, well, I tried to get out of it, but I tell you, I learned a lot. I do it all over again because it's just something that makes you something. It's puts you all together in one piece. You figure out who you are in a hurry. My time, I did a lot of work there, and we had a lot of strange incidents where basically I shouldn't be here, but somebody was on my shoulder, and I really appreciate it. I've always had a good fortune with everything, and it's come out right for me.
Were you always on Cameron Bay the whole time?
No, I'm sorry. I should have told you. I went to Quang Yan. Okay, that's in the middle of upstate Vietnam, and we were stationed at Cameron Bay, but I never stayed there. I was always going someplace out. Phuket, Haiku, you name it. We were flying all over. Went to the DMZ, did a lot of different things that wasn't really proud of, but I'm glad I made it back from them.
Were you always with this? Do you always fly with the same guys, or would you move around?
I can't say always flew with the same guys, but basically the same crew always stuck together unless they got broke up somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, always the same crew. But it was something. It was a different experience. But I'll tell you, I really fought all the way not to be in there. But now after I've been in and out, why that's what made a man out of me.
M60, was that what was on this that you were using? Was
we
that
had
the machine
a 50
gun?
and a 60.
What did you prefer?
And had rockets that fired off. As long as it's shot, I'd take either or.
Were they both pretty consistent?
Oh, yes.
Reliable?
Oh, yes. Most all the time I got ground fire. Ground fire was a red line right to the chopper. At choppers, we probably changed maybe 6, 7 choppers because they had to go to maintenance to get repaired. Uh, it was it was interesting. Yeah, rockets were on the side of the thing, and when he shot them things off, man, smoke would come back in. And back then, it was dealing with F4s. Okay, I'd give them coordinates and everything, and they'd both come right up alongside of the chopper on each side. And it's funny how they can tip that plane up in the air, and it basically stops right in the air. It's right even with you, right? And when they go to fire, they tip the nose down and they fire, and smoke and everything else comes into the helicopter. I got Agent Orange, I got everything in there. Everything you could think of comes in that helicopter. But it was a duty that wasn't too proud at the beginning. At the end, though, I was proud that I did what I did.
And you said you'd go out with 4 choppers usually at a time?
Yes, we're basically a force that goes in ahead of anybody. In other words, if they're going to send troops in, they send the choppers in first, okay? I had tell you a little coincidental one, but we had Lung Chao Mountain. That was a data or communications mountain, and I mean, it was up in the air, and they were getting attacked, okay? On one side was the Vietnamese army. On the other side was the South Korean army. But anyway, I'm giving coordinates for everybody, where they're at, what they're doing, and all of a sudden we got a heck of a firefight up on top. And it turned out to be the South Koreans are fighting the South Vietnamese, which they were supposed to be both on the same side. I had a little time trying to break them up because once they get into it, the two of them weren't really liking each other. But anyway, that was a weird coincidence. I had to do some explaining how I got them both going up on the same point. But it was different. We come up against different things all the time.
When you would go out, how long would you normally be out there on a mission?
Basically, we stayed overnight. Okay, I mean, all night we'd be out there until daybreak started coming, and then we could be released. But it was, I had one experiment with I got coordinates that we had a chopper down. It was a medevac chopper. So anyway, we flew over it, and I gave wanted coordinates. I gave him my coordinates and everything and what I was going to do. He gave me coordinates, and I said, I'm coming over you, and we're going to fire in front of your chopper, and you lift off behind us. Oh, okay. So anyway, we come in, and I couldn't see nothing until we got right on top of them. But anyway, I was firing, and next thing I hear, pull off, pull off, pull off. So we pulled off, and he had his coordinate sheet upside down. I shot the back end of the helicopter right off. So then we had to have help come in and get the helicopter and the medevac chopper out of there. So that was a different experience too, because I thought I'd done in some people, but I just shot the back end of the helicopter off.
Were you in jungle areas mostly, or?
No, they sent us all over. We were in the DMZ. We picked up guys from the DMZ that got shot. I had one guy this guy was running towards me with carrying a guy, and he handed him to me, and when I picked him up, he was really light, and I fell back. I thought I was going to fall out the other side of the helicopter, but anyway, he didn't have any legs, and I'm trying to talk to him. You'll be okay. You'll be okay. He says, I can't feel my legs. And, it's tough to talk to somebody like that, but you're just trying to talk with him. I changed the conversation. Where are you from? What'd you do? He had a girlfriend. It just had to get his mind off his legs. But anyway, that was the one that I seen here in Georgia. So, or one of them, I'm sorry.
Wow.
But it was interesting on everything you'd done. I mean, it was always just, you might not come back. You might not come back. That was always going through your mind. But
what was the strangest thing you ever saw that you can talk about?
The strangest one is I fell out of a helicopter.
Tell me that story.
Yeah.
My goodness.
We had a thing going, okay, the pilots and myself, that there was this water buffalo in a rice paddy. okay? And every morning, I'd go and say hello. Nicknamed him Bull. Okay, hey Bull, and I'd throw a couple rounds around so that he'd run around the rice paddy, and then uh, uh, the people of Vietnamese were shaking their broom and their hats and everything else at me because we did it. But I'd done this probably a good year and a half worth of seeing this buffalo every morning. So anyway, I that the last day that I went to see him, my pilot says, "Want to go see Bull?" It says, "Yeah, I'll go see Bull." So we went over to palm trees and over to rice paddy, and Bull wasn't where he usually was. He likes to stay in a corner in the shade. He wasn't there. He was out in the open. So anyway, my pilot turned the helicopter so that I could throw a couple rounds at him. And next thing I know, I'm out of the helicopter. I didn't have my land on. My harness wasn't hooked up, and out I went. So anyway, the weirdest part, I was going to drown in mud. You got probably maybe 18 inches of water in a rice paddy, but you got probably 2 feet of mud underneath. And I hit that mud, and all I could think of, I got to get loose. The suction had me. I couldn't get loose. Finally, I broke loose. I come up, and the helicopter was right over the top of me, and my co-pilot dragged me in. But that was the strangest feeling. I really got to see, how somebody's working for me, because there was no way that I could have got out of that without really working. And when you're in mud that deep, it's a strange deal. Suction is unbelievable. But anyway, I got out of that.
How far did you fall, do you think?
Probably 100 feet over palm trees. 100 feet or a little better, not much more, but right around there. All I know is I woke up that bull because he was coming. And I figured, oh, he's going to get his revenge. But I got out of there. And, you do sometimes stupid things, but I look forward to doing that because just this water buffalo knew it was coming. He'd be looking right up at you and everything, and just give him a couple rounds so that he starts running around. I wasn't aiming to shoot at him. I was just trying to stir him up a little bit. That was something different. That was something that kept me going, to be honest with you. There was different tricks like that. Saturday morning, everybody got together from Air Force, you name it. CB's pulled this water skiing and got to know everybody. Everybody got to know me, and it was pretty decent.
Sounds like you were the life of the party out there.
Oh, we had lots of good parties. No doubt about that. But when I went to leave, my CO came to me and he says, "Hey, I'm going to take over your Hooch." He says, "You got the nicest building in the motor pool." Well, we worked hard at it. We put cement stones on the outside. It was really nice. I got pictures of it and everything. It's really nice. But anyway, he ended up with it. He says, "I want to have your baby son and the Hooch when you leave." I said, "Hey, it don't matter to me. I'm not going to be here." So anyway, I was down in Cameron Bay looking for the flight home, and I get a call. A sergeant comes through asking for Sergeant Mayo. And I says, "I'm Sergeant Mayo." He says, "Your CO wants to talk to you." So we got to go back to headquarters here and get him in touch. So anyway, got in touch with him. The first thing he says, "How did you get along with your baby son? That's who does my clothes, my shoes, everything." And I says, "Why? What's the problem?" He says, "Well, I can't communicate with her." I says, "Oh, she's a deaf mute, okay?" And he was wondering how I got along with her so good. She never gave me no static. That's why he wanted her. So I told him that her mother will bring her there. Okay, she brings her to the post or the motor pool every morning. So get a hold of her. She'll show you how to communicate with it. So that's what he done. I never heard anything about it since then, but it was pretty interesting. I always had something going though. Everybody said, "You're the busiest guy in Vietnam." I said, "No, not really." But I made the best of what it was. Ignored some of the things that I should have paid attention to, but if I paid attention to them, I don't think I would have been around.
You served twice over there, right?
Yes.
Back to back? Tell me that story.
Well, they came to me and asked me, they wanted me to stay as a door gunner. Well, you couldn't be a door gunner if you're a sergeant. And so I said, I don't think I'll do it. But they upped the money on me, and I was thinking about it. And my pilot come to me. He says, "Would you want to be on the helicopter with us?" I says, "Definitely." So anyway, he talked, because I had two other pilots that we switched off, and he talked to them. And they all said, "No, co-pilot, pilots, we want them on the helicopter." So I got to stay on it. I was a sergeant, so I says, "Okay, I'll do it." They sent me to Thailand for 30 days, and then they come back and did the rest of the term, which I got out in 69. But it was very interesting.
Was the second one, did it vary from the first round you were there, or no?
It got a little heavier because more things were happening, but a lot more techs. They had a tech just about every 2 weeks, it seemed. So I was busier on the second term. I was beginning to wonder this might not work out good. But it did. It worked out good, and ended up coming home. They sent me I went in at South Carolina, and Fort Jackson, South Carolina. When they brought me back, they dropped me off in Fort Lewis, Washington. And I wanted to get out of the Army so fast, right? This is good. I'm out of the Army, right? I walk out of the office there when they gave me the paperwork. I said, "I'm on the wrong side of the United States here." I had to walk back, and they gave me a shuttle to get across country there. I was a little scared on that one. I was wondering how I was going to get home. But I was so happy I never even thought about where I was. I just got out, and a couple guys said, "Let's go to the restaurant and have breakfast." So while I was going there, I said, "Hey, wait a minute. We got to turn around and go back. I'm on the wrong side of the United States." So that was one. So I left them with a good question there, but they got me home. And I was proud to serve, and I'd do it again, because it was interesting. But you had to pay attention. You didn't pay attention, you'd be in trouble. Well, I always worried about, over there, dope was a big concern. These guys that had dope, I had two gunners that played with the dope all the time, and I told them, "You guys aren't going to last long because you're not quick enough. You're not seeing what's going on. You're going to take the lives of somebody else." But one guy, he did, he went into another helicopter. He got shot, and he was all doped up. And it's too bad. He was a good guy, but he was from New York and New York City, and he always, bragged about New York City and how he can have dope over there right in a paper bag, and you can get it easy as reaching down and picking it off the grass. So that was my only really big concern there. And I had to go back a couple times. I told my pilot, "I got to go back." He'd be enclosed, but I'd be an open door in the back. And every place we caught on fire, there was dope around it, growing around it. And it come right, the helicopter would suck it right in the helicopter. I got hired. I've never smoked dope, but I'm going to tell you something. I probably had the most dope that anybody could have got, because I went so high that I felt I was falling out of the helicopter, and I couldn't get my balance. I couldn't do anything. I was just like flying in the air. But that was one experience I learned over there. I tried wearing masks and stuff, and asked for one. They got one, that I wasn't going to do that unless I got a mask. So finally, we come up with a mask.
In the helicopters, was there two gunners or just one in a helicopter?
There's usually two, but this one had one because we were lead helicopter. Okay, and I was more or less doing a location of everybody, of whatever we go. I give out everybody the location of where we're going to shoot at. I'd go in first, give fire, and they see where I was shooting, and they come in behind me and just obliviate it.
So pilot, co-pilot, you, and a crew chief.
Yeah. No crew chief.
No crew chief.
No. I was basically, I could have been in charge of the helicopter at any time. They just turned it over to me, but I've only did it once that I was in control of it. That's when Untitled Chapter went down. So That was the one that I took the back of the helicopter off.
Were you flying on H's or D's models, Hueys?
I'm sorry?
H or D model Hueys?
H's.
H. What did you make of the Hueys?
Oh, they got me back. That's all I can say. They worked for me. So I went into a Apache one time, okay? I didn't care for that. I wouldn't do it. If I had a re-up for that, I wouldn't do it again.
Hmm.
So it's just, I had a little bit of freedom in the other. So, and the Huey, it was better.
Do you remember your first mission that you went out on?
Yeah.
What was that like? What happened then?
It was terrible. I was so nervous and everything, and I got rid of all the ammo. I mean, red flares were coming at me, and I was shooting everything I could back at them. And I had to go in front of the CO because I burnt down the gun. I mean, I just let it go. Whatever I could shoot, it was going. Whatever I had from rockets to you name it, everything in there. And I pretty much emptied the gunship, and they took me in front of a hearing saying you can't do that. Well, yeah, I find that out. I melted the gun, basically.
How much ammo would you carry with you normally?
I had boxes of ammo. And when I fell out of the helicopter, let's refer back a little bit, I broke my wrist. Okay. So I had to go in front of a hearing. They were going to give me an Article 15 because they didn't know what happened, and I didn't tell them about my wrist. So anyway, I had to go in front of a hearing. My co-pilot and pilot were there at the hearing, and they asked me, "How did you break your wrist?" And I said, "Well, we were coming in. I thought we were landed. We were about 6 feet off the ground. I jumped out of the helicopter with a case of ammo, and it snapped my wrist." And my pilot, you could hear him in the back, but how do you do that? Afterwards, he asked me, "How'd you come up with that so fast?" I wouldn't, never even thought of that. But anyway, they didn't give me an Article 15 because if they would have known the story about Bull, the water buffalo, I definitely would have got an Article 15.
Okay, how did you think of that story so fast?
I'm sorry?
How did you think up that story so fast?
It just came to me. Because I often wondered when I jumped out of the helicopter with a case that it's not going to break something, either my leg or something, because I jump out solid. But anyway, so if it's 6 feet taller, I'd probably break both legs, higher. But it was challenging. The whole time I was there, it was challenging. But I got to know everybody. Everybody came to me for whatever they needed, from CO to drill sergeants to you name it. Everybody come to me, and we seen that everybody was taken care of. And they all appreciated me. When I asked them to help me do things, they came and do it. My CO said, "Anybody in here will come and help you do anything, anytime." And I said, "Well, I guess when you're friendly, you do okay, but you just got to watch who you get friends with." So,
so when you were out, when you would go on these missions, you had sea rats. Is that what you ate? Did you do sea rations?
yeah, they gave me a pouch of that, but never used that.
Really?
Never used that because I could keep my refrigerator full. Anytime I wanted to take something, I took it, so I couldn't complain. Sea rations, I don't think I ever had sea rations there. I always had something from, you name it. I could buy American candy. I could get whatever, American cigarettes. Everybody came to me and asked me if they could get this or get that. There's guys that come and ask me for Kool-Aid because they didn't want to drink the water. And we come up with it.
Would you go to the villages much? Like, did you ever meet the locals very much or not really?
The locals, my baby son, okay, she was a very, very good-looking lady, okay? She was probably 16, 17 years old. I couldn't tell really. But I was sort of afraid of her because she wanted to come back to the United States. So I tried to stay away from her, okay? And the guys were all saying, "Boy, if I had a baby son like that, I'd be there. I wouldn't even be doing anything else," right? But anyway, that pretty much, it was after you got done doing your going out in a helicopter, I was pretty free to do anything, really. And I just tried to keep people together, okay? As long as you've done things together, you were left alone. And I've had VC standing right alongside of me that I knew were VC. And if I started something with them, okay, there'd be more, lots more downtown. So, and Baby San's mother told me who to look for. She knew who the VC were and whatever. But in the city of Quang Nhân, it was a very active place because the Air Force was there, the Army was there. I mean, we had an airport there. So it was a place that everybody came down. They had, our people would have Vietnamese singing, American songs at bars and stuff, and that would crack me up. It didn't really turn me on, to be honest with you, but it was funny to hear these Vietnamese try to sing these songs that we know from back home. And another thing is, I had a radio with batteries, and you see this on TV where you got songs going and helicopters going through. It was basically the same. It was something else. I always made sure that we kept a good attitude.
You had tunes going on there.
Yep.
What were you playing? What was your tunes of choice?
You could take it, all them ones that you heard, it was good. The one that, I'm trying to think, I'm not really, when listening and stuff, I can listen to it, but I can't sing it. But there was a lot of good tunes over there. The biggest ones that we liked to play were the Grateful Dead. Okay, everything seemed to go around the Grateful Dead. There was a lot of good songs there, but when they said, Good Morning Vietnam with the radio, it was the exact way it was portrayed in the movies. Good morning, Vietnam. When I can't think of that comedian that said it all the time there, but it was basically the same. So, but anyway, I can't.
Did you, when you came home, did you? I know
it wasn't a good scene.
I know a lot of guys just didn't tell anybody.
It wasn't a good scene. Okay, I come home in uniform, and I got rid of that uniform in a hurry because everybody was coming up and harassing you and this and that. You went over there and you're killing people, and it was a bad scene, really a bad scene. And I think it got taken care of because I was on honor flight here last year, and it really changed my attitude. The honor flight was, you couldn't ask for a better flight. It was all personal. It wasn't like, we're taking this guy, whoever, he's from Vietnam. No, this is Sergeant Ernest Mail from Vietnam. I mean, everything was right there, beautiful. I mean, they did a good job for us. We went to Ashland to get on a plane to go to Washington, D.C., and they gave us a cannon gun salute and at that airport. And when we landed in Baltimore, we had to land, and they gave us a gun salute there. And that water gun salute, I don't know if I really wanted to get back on that plane. That water was hitting that plane pretty good. But we went to Washington, D.C., and I'll tell you, they treated us like gold. It was a good, I'll never forget it.
So you'd recommend that for other veterans?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they had just had a whole flight of women that went to Washington, D.C. And man, I bet you them women are really on top of the earth when they landed in Washington, D.C. But they had an escort, and wherever we went, and what I seen in one day, it'd probably take me 3 days to see if I went and visited, because they escorted the buses right to the memorials, right to everything that you wanted to see, and you got to see it, get on the bus and go someplace else and see something else. But it was a magnificent trip. I'll never forget that trip.
What did you do for a living when you got home? What happened?
Yeah, when I went in, I had Mayo's Auto Clinic. It was a repair shop. Okay, I had 3 of them. I was doing pretty good there for being my age. Okay, I was when I went in was 20. I had to sell everything when I went in. I had a Corvette, sold that. It really changed my life. But when I got out, okay, my mother says, "Hey, we got a letter from IBM." And I says, "What's that for?" She says, they want you to go to work for them. Well, when I took the course in uh, Fort Monmouth, why, it was all directed by IBM, communications, everything. And the funny part about it, I lived in Endicott, New York, where IBM first established itself. So they heard that I was from Endicott, and one of my teachers come, "Could you pick up something for me from IBM?" Right? And I said, "Yeah, I can do that. It's only 5 blocks from my house." So anyway, I started picking up all the information that all the tests were going on with IBM. I had come back one time with a back seat full of tests and everything, right? So I was helping out the Army, that's for sure. They didn't have to pay too much to get it there. But anyway, every weekend I'd bring in stuff. But so they knew that they already knew it back at IBM. They knew me personally. So when I was supposed to get out in 68, why, they sent a letter, and of course I wasn't there. My mother put it aside for me. And then when I got out in 69, they sent more letters. And I told my mother I didn't want to go to work yet. I want to take a month off and just be myself. So I bought a day cruiser boat and went from Lake Ontario all the way down to Corpus Christi, Texas. And I got down to Corpus Christi, Texas, and sold the boat. And everybody knew, because I always wore hats or whatever. They knew I was in the Army. I got to find out a lot about what it was that people didn't like about Vietnam, because everybody talked about it. We don't want to be misusing you, but that war should have never been. Well, I could sit in that seat and say war shouldn't have been, but you had to do what you had to do, okay? And I done it, and I had somebody on my shoulder that brought me home. That's all I can say, because there's many times that I shouldn't have made it, many times. But I got married to my wife, and she never knew. I never talked about anything. I mean, I never.
She didn't even know you'd been over there?
And she didn't know even what armed forces I was in until I got down here to Georgia. Wow. And everybody started asking me questions, and I got open mouth on everything and told a lot of people. And my wife says, I learned more in the first year I've been down here than I lived with you for 30 years. But it was never asked. I mean, my kids always knew that I was in the armed forces. That's what everybody would say. He was in the armed forces. He was in the armed forces. So they didn't really question it, and they knew it was a touchy subject for me. So they sort of stayed away from it. But after I got down here, my wife got to know more about me. My kids got to know more about me. I opened up, and usually I don't. But down here, for some reason, I don't know, might be in the air, but I opened up, and, most people wouldn't even tell the story about the water buffalo falling out, but it happened. And, I'm not ashamed that stuff happened, but, there's a lot of times that, I felt bad because of what I was doing over in Vietnam, but it was them or you. It's one of them things. But I was glad I served afterwards, but I fought like crazy not to go in the Army, and everybody knew it. And I'd done some tricks on that. They worked for a while, but they got me after 2 years. So, but yes, it made a man out of me. It done me good, very good. So, and I'm proud I was there. And if I had to do it again, I'd do it again. I'd do it again.
That's a great story.
Well, I have a lot of stories, and everybody comes around me for the stories. But some are good, some are bad. But, that's what keeps you going. You think back, I learned something here. We learned a lot.
Just out of curiosity, when you would go out on missions, was the fire you would take small arms fire?
Oh, all the time. All the time.
They shot AK-47s, I guess, or?
Oh,
anything.
They'd shoot anything. I mean, there's people there that had a rifle that it looked like they couldn't do anything with it, but you knew right away that it wasn't there for protection. It was there for an assault. That's the big difference. And if you paid attention, you could know who was who and who wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay. And my CO says you got a different kind of person that you can tell what's what. I used to tell a lot of guys in our command that you got to stop doing this. If you don't, you're not going to be with us. Okay. And I'd have the guts to go up and tell them, like a lot of guys got on dope. Get away from it. I don't want you in my squads. If you are having it, I'll help you get rid of it, but I won't help you get it. And they all knew where I stood. And of course, when I come back on some of these runs and I'm higher than a kite, they say, how'd you get that? They think I would be smoking it. I mean, you could tell when, oh man, it'd take me up, take me down, and I just had to go hide someplace, basically. So, but like I said, I can't yell about going in the Army afterwards. And like I said, I did everything I could to stay out, but this guy would go back and do it again now. So it changed my attitude, 100%. When I got home, it wasn't something that I really looked forward to because I looked forward to getting home, but the minute I got off that airplane, something's wrong here. People got a different attitude than what you'd think. The government paid me back. That honor flight, they paid me back. I really appreciate it. But like I said, everybody that was in Vietnam should take that flight. I mean, it is absolutely out of this world. I mean, I'll never forget it. Never forget it. I mean, they treated us like gold. They gave you a box on the plane, and it had all memory things, but your name, Sergeant Mayo, was on it. It wasn't just a box they threw at you. Okay, it was something that they meant, and they meant it good. When we flew into Ashland and back from Washington, D.C., there must have been 5,000 people in a hangar. I mean, I couldn't believe. Little kids shaking flags. I'll be darned. They blessed us good. They blessed us real good.
Yeah, I feel like you Vietnam guys are getting your dues now.
Yeah.
Which is well-deserved.
Awesome. I really appreciated it.
Well, thank you for sharing, man.
Well, I probably could have done better, but
you did great.
we try to let out as much as you can about it. War's not always terrible. You just basically, when you go into war, you got to have your head on. Know what you're going to do, what to do, where to do it. Pay attention. That's the biggest thing. A lot of guys don't pay attention. They just go, I got to be here. That's not the attitude to have.
Yeah.
It'll keep you alive if you have a little bit of energy saying, I'm going to pay attention.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.